Hi, my dear Astro family. Today we are going to be talking about the upcoming lunation, which is going to be taking place on the 21st of January. So we are going to be having a super new moon in the sign of Aquarius. But before we talk about that, I would like to invite you for my retreat, which is going to be taking place on 29th of May, and it's going to be 6 days. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit because I'm very excited about having this retreat. I'm very excited to meet you in person and to teach you about astrology, and the special topic, what we're going to be talking about for 5 days, is going to be relationship. Now, one of the reasons why I've chosen relationship is because the nodes are going to be going into the sign of Aries and Libra. And I think the relationship with the self, as well as a relationship with others, will be quite magnified in the upcoming couple of years. So I thought we would want to be speaking about relationship topics a little bit. So I'm going to be holding 20 astrological lectures actually within 5 days. One day we're going to be dedicating that only to timing techniques, when love comes, basically. And the rest of the days we're going to be looking at different type of, astrological approach to the fifth house, seventh house, eighth house, for example, how to describe your physical partner, what you need to be looking for in a physical partner when we are talking about love. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole syllabus. If you are interested about that, please check it out on my website. There is a retreat tag there, and then you will be able to download the PDF about the retreat, and I'll talk about I put together a little bit of an accommodation plan. I put together the syllabus. I put together, I think, a very affordable price as well. The 6 days are going to be around 500 euros. And you're going to get a welcome kit, by the way, which is going to be my book. One of them is going to be my book. You're going to get a notepad, some pens. And also, this retreat comes with a personal reading with me for 30 minutes, which you will be able to claim in the next 3 months once the retreat's taken place, of course. So I'm so excited to meet as many of you as possible. It's going to be happening in Turkey. I made recently a little bit of a voting poll, on YouTube and on Facebook as well. And then it looked like people wanted to choose Turkey. So it's going to be taking place in Turkey. The other reason why I've chosen that is because I'm expecting people coming from US as well. And there are at least 15 direct flights from 15 different cities from US to Turkey. So maybe it's a little bit easier than Thailand, for example, because that was my other plan. So I'm very excited. You will be able to download the PDF about what you need to know about this retreat on my website, AstroViktor.com. And I really hope that you will be able to join me. When it comes to payment, you will be able to make the payment on PayPal, as well as on a direct bank account too, whichever is more suitable for you. If you do have got any question, just drop me an email and then I'm more than happy to assist you with them. Now, another announcement I would like to make is that I will be holding 2 cool courses coming up in the middle of February. One of them is going to be all about the houses. It's not just going to be a list about what the first house means and what the second house means, but how these houses actually correlate to each other. Why are they trining each other? Why there is a sextile? How we can, cooperate the houses well. How you can combine, what is the house combinations and how you can make the most of those. And the other one is going to be the 7 visible planets in each sign. So these are going to be some intense courses. This is very suitable for beginners as well as advanced students who want to have a deeper understanding about astrology. Now, without any further ado, let's get started with this lunation. So, super new moon in the sign of Aquarius, happening on the 21st of January in most major time zones. And it's going to be a super moon. Now, the super moon actually indicates that the moon is very close to the Earth's orbit. Now, that's one thing. Supermoons are always very interesting, for example, in the financial world. Okay. Typically, they always bring major ups and downs, at least 80% of the time. So let's see how that plays out. Secondly, this year we're going to have 5 new moons happening on 1 degree of 1 degree of the sign. Now, obviously, number 1 is something to do with new beginnings. And I think the new beginning is somehow due this time around because we're going to have Pluto changing sign, Saturn changing sign, Jupiter changing sign, the nodes are changing signs, Sedna is changing signs. So we have got loads of sign change. So clearly, the new moons are also indicating to us that something is shifting in the world. So this is going to be the first out of the 5 which are going to be taking place on 1 degree and in the sign of Aquarius. And so new beginnings, new start. This is always what the new moon is really talking about. What area of life does the Aquarius fall in your chart to start with? Secondly, what area of life would you like to start somehow fresh? And that's going to be a very significant question for you in the upcoming at least 6 weeks, surely. Now, the dispositor of this new moon is Saturn or Uranus, depending on, which rulership system you use. I consider Saturn, but feel free to use Uranus as well. As you can see in the chart, we have got loads of fixed energy going on. Oh, by the way, if you would like to pull up the chart, then it's on the 21st of January, 8:53 p.m. London Universal Time, Greenwich Universal Time, so that you can also see the chart right in front of you. We have got loads of fixed energy going on. Now, what is the fixed energy? It's really about stability. It's about long-term goals. It's about something which needs fixing in my life. This new moon has got loads of aspects going on. For example, a sextile to Juno, which is on 4 degrees of Aries, and Juno is bang on conjuncting Jupiter as well at the same time. We have got a square to Haumea. We have got a wide conjunction to Chariklo. We have got a Pluto out of sign conjunction as well, which is definitely going to intensify this new moon. And obviously, Pluto will trigger that 1 degree, a little bit later on this year. And also, we have got a conjunction to an asteroid called Prosepina, which is the asteroid 26, if you want to check that out. So I'm going to break that down for you, what I think it might mean. The shape of the chart is a kite shape. So let's start with that. Like we were reading a natal chart, the shapes are always very, very important. Now, a kite is nothing else really, but basically we have got a grand trine and we have got a additional planet involved here where the 2 of the planets are actually making a sextile to that additional planet, which is actually having an opposition to the other side. So basically, that would be a kite pattern. Now, what is the kite really? Just think about it. Basically, it's about freedom. But because we have got sextiles and trines involved here, we're really talking about talent as well at the same time. So if I kind of want to be interpreting the kite is that it's the talent is freely, flowing through, really. This is usually a great aspect, but there is always a little bit of an ambivalence coming with it. And the ambivalence is coming from the fact that we have got two planets which are actually opposing each other. And often it talks about that we are not sure whether we meant to be making the decision what we are actually planning or not. I also, the kite is actually really kind of starting to kick in around the 19th. I think when you look at it, you will be seeing that Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, the Moon, of course, as well as Ceres involved here. Now, the opposition is actually happening between Jupiter and Ceres. It is something which kind of started happening already on the 18th, but it's peaking. This kite is going to be peaking somewhere around the 27th of January, and it kind of finishes around the 4th of February. So obviously, as I said, it includes the Sun, which is in the sign of Aquarius. We have got Mars in the sign of Gemini, Ceres is in the sign of Libra, and then we have got Jupiter in the sign of Aries. So Jupiter is at the top of this kite. So now, obviously, Jupiter is kind of like the philosopher, the guru, the knowledge, the travel, the kind of like the professor archetype. And then it has got that little bit of a challenge going, and not necessarily challenge, but because it's a sextile. So Jupiter, basically, Mars wants to kind of fire up Jupiter to gain the knowledge, to become the guru, to travel, to relocate. So Mars in Gemini always fires up the communication as well. So it might be about being able to freely speak about something. But then we have got the Sun in the sign of Aquarius, the other side of the trine here, sorry, the sextile here, which is really going to be about, what am I special about? What are my unique gifts? What are my unique insights? And then we have got that Ceres, which is opposing Jupiter, that could really talk about uh, talking to others about your creativity. But also, I want to be heard, I want to be listened to, because the communication plays a significant part here in this kite shape. So if we want to learn something, if we want to talk about something, then this is a kite aspect pattern which is going to electrify you. But also, obviously, Jupiter sometimes talks about abundance, and in the sign of Aries, um, about our confidence level, as well as abundance and prosperity. So again, it might be bringing a little bit more about our finances. Now, I think one of the ways how this new moon is actually playing out for us is that we're just going to have to embrace what we are special about, what's unique within us. In what way can we be different, or in what way we are different than others? And we don't always need to, shut down the side of us, which we are special about, because we want to be, kind of we want to be accepted by others. But also it could talk about recognizing your long-term goals, or in what ways I can serve the highest good as well. This new moon is highly intuitive. So often it's kind of like coming up with a genius idea, for example, or I cannot explain, I just somehow feel it, But also the Aquarius sun is about connecting with the higher self as well. And there is an element of a guidance, because even if you think about the kite, which is, kind of like being directed by the winds, so there is a little bit of a Mercury element there, right, with the wind. And Mercury can represent the flashes of insights. They come and go. So if we kind of grab those guidance, then we can really fly freely. It's about the recognition that you have got some special abilities than others don't have. And what are those? How are you going to kind of recognize those? So the kite is typically a very harmonious aspect pattern. It does talk about potentials, but the danger with potentials is that we are not going out there and then kind of grab it. So it's important that we are going to be grabbing the opportunities what are lying in front of us. Further topics, what might come up with this. Let's just think about the Aquarius for a second. It's a fixed air. So the air is about, uh, a connection seeker, and the fix is about stability. All air elements are positive. So kind of it indicates that they are active, but the difference would be that Gemini would be more about just being curious about connections and it connects with everyone. Libra would be trying to connect with a soulmate, while Aquarius is trying to connect to like-minded people with similar ideas. So kind of like how I like explaining Aquarius is that just think about the Russian kind of period in Europe you know, um, where they had this kind of principle, kind of like the in my language we call it as the principal mate. So meaning that they were on the same wavelength, they had the same goals and ideas, and everyone was working towards the same principles. Now, I'd like to mention here that I'm not saying that it was good or bad, but we are kind of talking about an archetype here. Often, how Aquarius plays out is like the fool or the comrade, right? And I find it interesting that Russia is actually an Aquarius country, and Aquarius is definitely about looking for someone who has the same ideas and belief systems. But also, from an archetypical point of view, Aquarius is the reformer, the innovator. So some of the keywords, in what ways I can serve humanitarian causes, what area of life do I need to reinvent? What area of life I need to be kind of becoming independent from? What are my unique talents? What area of life do I need a little bit more progressive mindset as well? Or maybe learning some technological, some technology basically. In what ways do I need to do something different in my life, or in what area of my life do I need to get my butt kicked to move actually forward? Because of course, Aquarius is an electrifying, it's a rebellious energy. I also find it interesting that obviously Uranus was discovered around the French Revolution. And the motto of the French Revolution was liberty, equality, and fraternity. So in what area of life do you want to liberate yourself? What area of life you kind of trying to find social justice or equality as well? Sometimes what happens is that we need to get more excited about something. We need to be more future forward. We just need to be portraying our originality, basically. Sometimes how the Aquarius plays out is that it becomes the anarchist, kind of like the black sheep of the family. Or we have got the reformer who, wants to revolutionize something. And or it plays out as the wise fool because they have got some type of enlightenment going on and then they are fighting for a humanitarian cause. So exciting technological advancements could be happening. Often Aquarius is actually mixed up with the fact that it's water sign. And one of the reason is because it says aqua there, right? And then actually Aquarius is the water bearer. Now, one of the explanation for that is that basically the mythological part of Aquarius is that Zeus spotted this very handsome, apparently the most handsome prince in Troy, and then he wanted to have him. He wanted to have some sexual intercourse with him, so he kind of kidnapped him and then he took him to the sky and then he made him his cupbearer. But at one point, this prince got tired of this situation. So basically, he just poured all water out of the cups, which caused floods on Earth. Often, actually, it can cause some floods as well when we have got an Aquarius, you know, um, a new moon, especially a super moon. Now, that's very typical. Some very funny weather issues. And I kind of feel like, that the fact that we have got this Kite with Jupiter and Ceres, it could bring plenty of rain, actually. Jupiter represents rains, and Ceres is actually the weather conditions. And it can bring in, for example, a little bit of it could bring in some some air accidents as well, for example. So we just need to be mindful about it. Often, actually, Aquarius plays out as the mad scientists. So what happens with a mad scientist is that they want to be finding a problem for, or what they want to be finding a solution for, a problem in the society, for example. So therefore, they start questioning the status quo of others, but they are actually lacking empathy from others, or they don't understand the intention of the person, and then they just say, "Oh, this person is mad," and their achievements get recognized just a lot later on. Now the fact that it's a fixed air, the air thinks about something, and the fixity is actually giving shape and forms to it. That's where the mad scientists come from, right? That I've got an idea and then I have to create that. So these are all the topics what you might want to be thinking about in regards to this, new moon. Now, let's just break down these aspects. But before we do that, this new moon is happening on 1 degree, very close to the point where we had the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, which happened in 2020 December. The shadow period of that started in 2020 September. So that happened on 0 degree of Aquarius. So we have got the new moon, which is actually kind of getting something started, what the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction kind of brought you. So imagine that you came up with a business idea in 2020, but you haven't started it yet. This new moon might be giving the opportunity for you to get going with it. But we're going to have Pluto coming there also in 2023, March, which is bringing some element of changes or crisis situations in our plan as well. So what we see in this chart in regards to this dispositor, for instance, of this new moon is that Saturn has got quite a tight conjunction to Venus. Now, Saturn and Venus conjunction is about, I'm not good enough, I don't have talents, or this is what we get from others. We start questioning our self-worth. I don't deserve love. It does bring in the element of relationship as well. So, for example, with Saturn and Venus conjunction and this kite shape, could really talk about that, you know what, I'm just gonna kind of start thinking about who my friends are. Do I actually, are they friends, or are they just taking a advantage of me, or these type of things? So we can start questioning. We can actually project our fears onto our friends as well. Also, it could talk about, because Venus wants to have fun, Saturn wants to be, you know, responsible, kind of choosing duties over fun. So what's going to happen here? I've got kind of different desires. I cannot work 24/7 anymore because I've got this going on as well. And, I want to be attending something else too. Also, this could talk about who can I value? Who are my trusted inner circle? It could talk about recognizing your barriers in the relationship department, or someone is doing something which you cannot tolerate anymore. And then we're going to have to speak up about it freely. it's kind of like the aspect of enough is enough. So I tend to call this Saturn Venus sometimes as the aspect of Donna Summers, right? The song Enough is Enough. So because someone crossed the boundaries and I cannot tolerate that anymore. And the Mars sextile to Jupiter in that kite shape would be talking about that we need to speak up about it. We're going to have to put a full stop to it. We're going to have to knock down all the huge walls what we have right in front of us. So this could be a little bit more of a rebellious full moon as well, which can bring demonstrations at certain points of, of the world as well. But Saturn and Venus are in conjunction. Often it's about unifying. Let's face the challenges together. Let's have a team spirit. Aquarius, team spirit. Let's make a stronger bond. The realization that we are stronger together, even though we might have got different desires, or we have got different ways to get there, but the way we get there doesn't always matter if we can have the outcome what we all desired. Also, this could talk about that I'm struggling to find love. I don't think I am lovable. Or it's about overcoming the fear towards being loved. It's about liking or disliking to work, especially if it connects somehow to your 10th or 6th or even the second house as well. Saturn and Venus can make us feel drained at our workplace, or we can realize that, you know what, life is too short and we're going to have to make changes. And we're going to have to plan that out, basically. So loads of topics. What comes up with dispositor. Now, when we look at that, we have got the chart shape. We have got an aspect pattern going on, which I've spoken about. I forgot to spoke about the chart shape, which is the ball chart shape. Now, I did talk about that in one of my previous video, what it means. So I'm not going to repeat myself very much, but you can see that the border planets of that ball shape chart is Mercury and Mars. And they have got quite a tight in conjunction going on between them two. In conjunction is about frustration, annoyance. Typically, because they are 6 sign away, it could talk about health as well as emotional and physical well-being. So Mercury and Mars is kind of like the throat. Often, now don't forget that Mercury and Mars have just gone recently direct, both of them. So they are kind of gathering their strength, right? Mercury went direct on the 18th, which is today, by the way, because I'm recording the video on the 18th, and then Mars went direct on the 12th of January. But both of them are in the shadow zone. So what it can actually indicate is that something is lurking around, but it's not crystal clear yet. Maybe it's going to get crystal clear just after the 7th of February, when the kite shape is kind of, finished, as well as when Mercury went out of its shadow period. But Mercury and Mars in conjunction for me is about being frustrated that we cannot speak up loud. It's kind of like arguments on social media, for example. It could talk about that someone is kind of trying to push something down on our throat. It's about wanting to initiate a conversation, but that conversation is not going anywhere. And then actually it frustrates me. So there is something we need to talk about. Often, actually, we might feel that we are, getting verbally abused by others. It's about free speech, freedom. So I'm expecting again something, on social media to kind of take off. It could talk about actually that, for instance, in the social media, there is going to be news about fight at school, or someone is a little bit pushy, they want to communicate towards, or they want to communicate to you in a pushy way as well. It could talk about actually theft also, that the crime of the youth is actually growing. It could talk about, especially in the next 6 months, that something around the game industry is going to change a little bit, maybe regulations. Of course, we have got Saturn and Venus involved here. So that's possible with that. Too. But furthermore, Mars and Mercury is about the mind is picking up its speed, and then we're gonna start thinking quicker, and we're gonna be saying things out quicker and louder as well, so that we are heard. So that's how we can get into a little bit of a trouble, and we can get into arguments as well. And probably because Mars is the anger, so it's easier to express our anger as well. So easier to pick fights, easier to blame others, easier to be impatient on transportations, for example, or driving rage. I kind of feel like that these are some of the topics which might be happening in the world. It's a little bit harder to tolerate with this aspect, basically. Now, we have got a asteroid involved here, which is Prosepina. So I definitely want to talk about that. Its astrological number is number 26 if you want to be checking up where Prosepina is in your chart. Now, Pluto got demoted in 2006 to a dwarf planet. And his mother-in-law, Ceres, got promoted from an asteroid to be a dwarf planet. Now, why is it important? Is because Prosepina was the daughter of Ceres, who actually got married to Pluto. So somehow Pluto and Ceres became equal in a sense. So Prosepina was Pluto's wife, and then initially she actually got abducted, and Ceres, went nuts. She became depressed. She brought hunger and unbearable weather conditions onto the earth. But then they, made an agreement, and Prosepina would have spent 6 months with Pluto and 6 months with her mother. So kind of we had that cosmic balance. I find it interesting that Ceres is actually in the sign of Libra at the moment. That's the opposition to to Jupiter. So there is a cosmic balance which needs to be done here. And so how I kind of see this in the world is, imagine that we have got one country, we have got another, and then we have got a third party. Just like with this Prosepina situation as well, right? And we're going to have to come to a conclusions. Or we're going to have to come to a conclusion, or we're going to have to make an agreement together. So now the Romans actually believed that Proserpina was with her mother Ceres, then the earth was actually producing more wheat and corn. And Ceres actually rules agricultural matters. So for me, agriculture is something which this chart is somehow highlighting. Maybe technological advancement in the agricultural field, maybe solutions of, kind of maybe some research is going to start happening around, kind of like coming up with, technological advancements to produce meat. Aquarius rules anything to do with artificial food, really. So with the Saturn-Venus conjunction, for example, artificial food can be a bigger topic in the next 6 months also. Now, when Proserpina was with Pluto, the husband, then we kind of had a little bit of a darker time, and that's when the winter kind of came around, kind of coldness and so forth. So actually, it could really talk about being in the winter season as well, that some very cold days are coming. And Aquarius, which rules the Guinness the World Guinness record or whatever, it can indicate that super cold periods are actually coming. So Prosepina in your chart actually shows what area of life you might be taken over and what area of life you're going to have to take the power back. It also shows where you might go through some continuous repetitive process in your life where basically you have no power, but eventually you gain power. And imagine, for example, if you have got Proserpina very, close to your IC, or actually one of IC or the MC, or just the angles overall, it can really talk about, for example, a parent who is dominating over you, okay? But then eventually you get empowered to break free from this. Now, think about the Aquarius New Moon. One of the key success factor I gave here for you to consider is to break through from something. The mythology would be related to Prometheus, who stole the fire from the gods, and then it was given to the humankind, and then he got punished. He got tied up to rocks, and eagles were eating up his immortal liver, and then he was in a continuous kind of pain. But then Pandora kind of his wife released him, and so forth. So it's a little bit of a complicated story. But the bottom line is that we need to be somehow breaking the chain, and that's a big message with Aquarius all the time. So where to get empowered, where to get some genius ideas. Sorry, I said the astrological number is 26. No, it's not 26. It's 399. So a little bit of a correction there. One of the reasons why I was fascinated about Prosepina when I learned a little bit about it is because it's very tightly conjuncting my rising sign. And, was I overshadowed by my mom? I mean, my grandma. Yes, my grandma for a very long time. Well, I love my grandma, but especially the guilt that I didn't go to her funeral overshadowed 2.5 decades in my life, which I think managed to release nowadays because I went to do some family constellation therapy and so forth. Oh, and I forgot to mention to you in regards to the retreat. So it's going to be 5 days astrology and 1 day going to be family constellation therapy where we're going to be working on your relationship blockages. So Proserpina, by the way, was sometimes discovered in 1853 by a German astronomer. And also it could really talk to you about your inner child as well, kind of like how it is to be away from your mom. Often a prominent Proserpina in the chart shows that your mom abandoned you, or there is conflict going on between the parents or the family as well. And in my case, actually, that's the situation. I mean, my mom abandoned me when I was 3 months old, and it's on my rising sign. So separation from the mom and separation from children as well. Often, actually, it could show what area of life you might be active, kind of locked up, where you are not allowed to be yourself. And obviously, you're going to have to, kind of break free from that with this, new moon. Let's talk about the other aspects as well. So, we have got a Pluto out of sign conjunction. So this is talking about, Aquarius usually happens fast. Pluto brings big changes. So this is talking about some huge change which are coming around, and it might start now and it might only become visible sometimes in March, April, especially April, May, when Pluto is actually on that 1 degree as well. Pluto is the Lord of underworld. Pluto is about shadow work. So we have got some old trauma to let go of. We have got some old wounds to heal. And the wounds are there because Jupiter is getting closer to Chiron as well at the same time. But also Pluto talks about power. So am I giving the power away or am I actually getting the power back? So it's interesting that we have got Prosepina around, right? Which is actually the same topic. And also wealth, which is Pluto, because the kite is full of grand trines and, sextiles. So it does bring in money here, harvesting the money, running out of money as well at the same time. So what do you want to manifest? Mars, I think, helps you here to get going with something new. It might fires you up to learn a little bit more about what you have got in mind. It might actually just kind of electrifies your brain, and then, you're going to have a lot more idea. Then we have got the Juno Jupiter conjunction, which is at the tip of the kite. That brings in the committed partnership topic. I mean, Juno is the wife, Jupiter is the husband, really. So maybe it's about breaking away from a relationship or getting married in an unconventional way. Juno also can represent kind of like a little bit of a servant type of energy, or someone who is actually helping you to get together with someone. So again, a third party might take place here. Maybe imagine, for instance, in the world that we have got two countries and then they are negotiating in a third country, and maybe the representation of the third country initiates, let's say, the peace between Russia and Ukraine, for example. This is one way how I can imagine. And the last aspect of this lunation is a square to Humeya. Now, I did make a free of charge webinar about Humeya. That was also a sign change for us. So I'm not going to repeat on that. But what I wanted to mention here is that I kind of feel like that, again, the freedom of having a child and so forth, this might be actually maybe causing some social unrest, basically. Oh, and then we have got one more aspect, which I mentioned already, and that's Chariklo. Its astrological number is 10199. Now, I did make a video before about Chariklo as well. So, I'm not gonna talk about it so much, but Chariklo is the largest known asteroid in our solar system, followed by Ceres. It sits somewhere between Saturn and Uranus, and it's an asteroid also who have got rings going on. Now, she was actually discovered in Aquarius season on February 15th, some 1997, if I remember well. And we had this perfect six-pointed star going on in that moment. So, it talks about miracles, divination, destiny. So what it feels like with this, and Chariklo was, by the way, the wife of Chiron as well. So there is that kind of like medicine to relationships. So what I'm really hoping that finally some peace talks are starting here, basically. Some of the problems which have been buried might get digged out, but also we kind of receive the medicine for some of our problems as well, both in the world as well as, in our personal life as well. Chariklo was believed to be a shapeshifter. She was able to be a centaur as well as a water nymph as well. So what it could indicate is that, again, there is a shift going on. Like Chariklo is making this shift this time around, a transitioning. So from going bad to good and from good to bad. She was a natural healer. She was actually able to turn their wounds into a strength. So look at your wounds and how you can turn that into a strength. That's what I briefly would like to mention about that aspect. So, guys, this is my forecast on this lunation. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, press like. And if you would like to learn more about the asteroids, then I'm going to talk about the love asteroids on the retreat as well as a special topic. So I'm really hoping to connect with as many of you as possible on the retreat. Thank you and see you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.